Hey guys, so I'm back after a very long time of being away. It's really been a hiatus, definitely a hibernation period. I've noticed the comments over the course of the last couple of years, and many of you have asked, where have I gone? And I've answered some of those individually, as well as I've noticed even other channels have popped up and ask where people like myself and other people have been, and you guys have followed the work of some of our earlier MEers who ducked the scene. So I'm gonna share a little bit about that with you, but I'm gonna tell you why I'm back. And you've noticed that the name of this channel has changed to Conversations with Gaia from Circle Healing Network. I've had a podcast for the last 3 years called Conversations with Gaia, and that was a big shift for me. And I shifted off of the YouTube channel. I kept it going because I felt like a lot of the work was relevant for a lot of people who were waking up and needing a lot of the information that was out there. But this video will just sort of be like an introduction, and I will definitely be doing more videos because I realize that the logos of the planet, Gaia, is really reaching out and helping a lot of us in this transition. We definitely are at that place that so many have waited for, which is the transition, definitely between the ages, but more importantly between the third and the fifth dimension for many. And there are many who are actually dealing with seventh dimensional things, and so I'll speak to that as well. But what's important is that I think more and more people are apparently aware, as we can look at it out at what's happening right now. I'm taping this on the 15th of January, and we can see that there's a lot of revolutionary stuff coming on, and that's going on. And so I'm going to stay focused in speaking to the dimensional things, and it will also speak to a lot of what's happening and that we're witnessing in the third dimension. But what's relevant to the work that I've done and the work that so many have done and are doing is the fifth dimensional shift, as many are in the fourth dimension. Okay, so why did I move away from ME? A couple of things. When I came to the understanding and the awareness of what I felt was going on with the ME, and I shared in the very last video, if you go back to that Liberty video, many of you got it. Wow, many of you got it. What was happening. And so a big part of what was happening, and that it took me about 10 months to really flesh out and discover, which is when I did that last video, and then I didn't do any more on the ME. And I won't be doing any ME videos, but I will speak to it over the course of us moving forward, is that the ME was a part of a timeline loop. And that loop had a lot to do with the ending of the ages. So many thought it was 2012, but that was really the recycling of a loop that's come full circle now in 2020. And so it was like a repurposing of a timeline that happened, that really began with the harmonic convergence in the 80s. So we'll go back and talk about some of that. But what I saw was happening is that ME itself was a time loop, and it became a trap. And when I realized that it was a trap, I chose not to cycle around in that timeline. And so I removed myself from it. And so if you think about it, I've been gone for almost 3 years now from doing any ME videos. And if you look at the movement, what ask yourself how much growth has happened in the movement. Many people who stayed and continue to put out videos, what was happening with them? Many of them start repeating their own timelines. And there are those of you who are viewers that started pointing that out to them. You know, it was really interesting. I would sort of watch that and watch what was happening. And so they were doing ME effect videos that they had already done. And yet they don't remember doing them. And many of those videos disappeared. But the ME effect was many of you guys, including myself, remembered them covering things. So that is representative of getting stuck in a loop. And the ME itself created a loop. And that was created by what I call the fungus that started creating time loops. And we'll talk more about the fungus, but you can call the fungus a lot of things, but it's definitely not human, and it definitely is trying to maintain control of this matrix. So we'll just say it like that for now. Those of you who understand what I'm saying will get right with it, and others, just be patient and we'll flush it out. But enough, suffice it to say that many of these timelines are become controlled, and then there's loops. And if you allow your frequency to really tie into them, you loop with it. So it's almost like there's been some movies that really speak to this. What was that movie that was called? It was something like Jumpers, or I'm not really good with remembering all the different names of the movies, but it was like in this particular movie they were able to sort of jump the timelines. And so you almost have to put yourself in the place of being a jumper, because if not, you will definitely, when you have that aha moment, that realization of what's happening in that timeline, you have to pull back and basically basically jump it so that you don't get caught in it. But the minute you commit yourself to this thing, yes, that's what it is, that's what my belief system is, I'm tying into it, and you become almost a zealot, you get locked in that timeline. So look at how many people out there are still putting these Mandela effect videos out. And I'm really speaking to the ones that were there in the very beginning. They're still putting them out, and they're still showing the effects and etc. But they're locked in it. And it's almost like they've become lords of ME. And sort of, there are many of them that also are like controlling it. Like ME is this and ME is that. And no, that's not ME. And ME is this. And that person's not doing ME. It's like they've become controllers of the ME. And that's not what it's about. It's about preparing those of us that could see and witness it for being able to exist in the fourth dimension. And when you can exist in the fourth dimension without being tied to any rules about what that dimension is looking like and what it's doing a lot of things, that dimension. A big part of what it's doing is it's allowing you to be able to acclimate and move into the fifth dimension. But if you get tied into a time loop, that time loop gets tied into the fifth dimension, and there's not much you can do, but almost kind of like just start again. So you almost got to start over and your awareness patterning so that you can kind of go back and gain control of it. But it's something also about it that if you don't have that awareness, that you, when you get stuck, all of that awakening was almost for naught, because it seems like many are not able to reset themselves. Now I noticed there's a few channels that were there in the beginning, like mine, that were able to start resetting themselves. I've watched that. And so I thought that was pretty cool. And so it showed me that there's the ability to do this. But for those of you who have followed my channel, followed many of the channels, what I can tell you is that what was moving me in those last days, those last months of the ME before I put that last video out that had to do with the Statue of Liberty. It was the logos of the planet. And I start getting a lot of downloads. And so I call that logos Gaia. And I think it's one that many can connect with. No matter where you are, what your religious, what your cultural backgrounds are, we can kind of connect to Gaia, which is the logos of the planet, the energy of the planet, the voice of the planet, whatever you want to call it. So I'll begin to share more of that with you because I've been compelled to do so. Listen, it is very easy for me to continue to hibernate because that is what I'm comfortable with. Primarily because I've been able to really straddle that fifth dimension and really even be introduced to a lot of the seventh dimensional timelines and framework. But I can tell you that the biggest thing that I can say right now, no matter which side of the fence you're on in terms of what's going on right now, is to not allow yourself to get galvanized, like not locking into a firm belief system on either side, like this firm attitude that you really know what's going on. Because I can tell you, one thing I can tell you that I've learned from the time that I've spent with the ME is that we're living in a matrix that is elusive, definitely. And as real as much of the matrix is, a lot of it isn't. Let's just use the word real for right now. We can further define what real is, but let's just say whatever real and not real hits you in your spirit world, when I say that, you'll be able to resonate with that. What's important and what Gaia really wants to get across is the idea to connect back to the earth as one of the most real aspects of what's going on right now. And it is the thing that will ground you and help move you forward. At least it did it for me. I can definitely tell you it has for me, and it has for many that followed my podcast and for many that are on this journey with us. So one of the simplest things that you can do is really spend time in nature. Now, I know that sounds simplistic, and it may sound like, wow, that's what you've got to offer. But I'm telling you, it really does have a lot to do with it. My buddy is calling me right now. It's one of Martin Kenny, who has spent a lot of time in the flat earther things. I'm going to give him a call back. That's timely, and I'll tell you really why. Because it has a lot to do with this loop. But we're in control. One of the things I can definitely tell you is that if you're at a point of awareness, you are definitely in control. And what you probably would benefit from is following your inner voice. Really, it's about following your inner voice and connecting back with the foundations of Gaia, of nature. Spend time in nature, go on walks. The more you do anchor into nature, the more you're going to hear. Follow your own voice. Like, if even things that I'm saying, and I used to say this a lot and I still say it. If I'm saying things that don't resonate with you, then they're not for you. But there's another path. There's another part of that timeline that is. And so we're all going to come onto this path a lot of different ways. And we're going to hit that timeline in a lot of different sequences. It's not right or it's not wrong, but I can tell you that the biggest thing that ME showed me was that we can interface in the matrix. That what's happening in our own avatar, let's say that, really connects a lot with the technology of the phone, of the computer, etc. And depending on what your input into that system is, you absolutely do affect it. Now, that's 100% what ME showed me, that you do affect it. And then you add into what's happening in this matrix as a result of it. So it's not a hard and fast type of thing, this matrix. It's not one thing and one thing only. I'm sure of that, 100% guaranteed. And a big part of the realization of what's happening around in this matrix is really what you bring to it, and what you allow yourself to open to, and not allowing yourself to be a hard and fast thing. I can say that. I'm going to come back. I'm going to share a lot more. I'm allow the comments to happen, because I think there's some importance in dialoguing going on there. But I'm not going to do the thumbs up, thumbs down thing, because it's not even relevant, to be honest with you. It's not. Because that thumbs up, thumbs down thing and all of that is a part of the 3D. The comments are a part of it, but it also allows us to have dialogue is in the 4D as we're moving into the 5th dimension. But what I'm hoping to do by coming back, and what I feel that Gaia and the Logos of the planet wants to share out with so many of you, of us, is a pathway to move into this 5th dimension. There is a clear pathway, and I'll share as much of it with you as I can. Now, you know, I've chosen to come back at the time where social media is flipping out. So I may even do a 2-part thing. Well, I'll share some of it here, and then I'll have a second part of the video that I'll load up on BitChute or somewhere like that, whatever platform will be stable, so I can actually go deeper and say more without having really to censor myself, because I'm doing some censoring right now in this video. What I'm sharing, what I have to share, is really grounding, and it really is fundamentally restorative. Let's use that word. That's what comes to me. And those of you who have a very open mind and a very open sensitivity about what it seems like is going on in the matrix, where your avatar fits into this part of this growth and development, will resonate with a lot of what I'm saying. And those of you who are not on that pathway like that won't resonate, and that's okay too. I definitely believe there's no right or no wrong, and you're able just to keep on moving on. I basically have been encouraged to come back because I know that there's so many of you like myself who are on a particular pathway, and you're just needing a little bit of guidance. You know, you just need a little bit of confirmation. Just a little bit of having something or someone saying the things that I'm sharing that will just be like, aha, yeah, that's, oh my goodness, yes, Robin, this is what I've been feeling or experiencing, etc. So I'll share my experiences, but more importantly, I'm going to help give practical things and approaches that you can take that will ground you. And that's the biggest thing. And so where we'll start with this video, and I'll end it now, is to definitely get out in nature. Try to ground as much as you can, because as much as we've been told that everything is happening up there in the sky and everything is happening out there, and you know, the UFOs and all of this and etc. Really where it's happening is inside. It's happening inside of us, and it's happening inside this let's say the Gaia, the Logos. And the planet can have a lot of definitions, and we'll break those down, but go with what you know. You know that you can sit by a tree. The tree has a certain kind of energetic field. You know that you can that if you put a seed in the ground, it's going to grow. I mean, like, let's just go with the things we know, okay? Because there's a lot of speculation in the ME, in the, the flat earth, in the mud flood. It's a lot of communities, and there's a lot of truth in those things, but there also a lot of deception, and that deception happens when that time loop got flipped. So many people who were in these different communities, when they started out, they hit the truth, just like the MEers hit the truth. There was a true timeline. But if you stay too long on that timeline and allow yourself to get committed, and it's this, and yes, it's that, and no, it's not, and get into the disputing, that's when the loop will end and it'll start wrapping around again. And then there's really nothing to get out of it until you just wake up to it for yourself and realize, wow, I feel like I'm in a loop. You know what I mean? And when you have that aha moment, you're able to move out of it. So the point is to be like the jumpers, those time jumpers. I'm gonna get the name of that movie. You guys put the comment below if you know what movie I'm talking. It's a couple of movies that have to do with this same concept. When you realize that, then you're able to jump out that loop. And when you jump out that time loop, you can look back and you can see everything so clearly. And so it's a matter of staying ahead of these jumps, of these collapses. And that's a big thing that ME showed me, that the timelines collapse and the dimensions collapse and they kind of start compressing together. And you want to stay ahead each of those. When you start seeing it coming in, you just kind of jump with it. And when you jump with it, it becomes something different. And so your commitment to what it used to look like has to move away or dissolve, so that, and that's what the fourth dimension is. It's a bridge dimension. And so there's a lot of jumping, a lot of collapsing, a lot of timelines. Things are constantly moving and developing this fourth dimension. And so you really can't stay locked into anything. And as you move from the fourth dimension into the fifth dimension, you start seeing the fifth dimension will stabilize, and you'll start seeing and being able to look back at the third dimension so much more clearly, and it almost becomes like illusion, like Maya, the third dimension. So we'll talk more about it. I just wanted to come back, say hey, let you know that I'm still around, and I'm willing to share with those who want me to share with them, and those who don't, it's okay too. Just kind of, we all can keep on moving along. Yep. Okay. I'll stop there. Oh, I could say so much more, but it's best for me to just kind of do it in chunks. So, all right, I'm gonna sign off now. Take care. It's good to connect with you all. And yeah, so much more to come. Bye-bye.